Good morning, and welcome back to the Planet Doug podcast. And I'm continuing with turning this podcast into my morning journal. As I've talked about already, I'm a lifelong journal keeper, and I would almost always wake up in the morning and write down in a notebook a journal entry, or I would, in the modern age, sit down at a keyboard and type out a journal entry. And then since I became a YouTuber for a while, I was keeping a behind-the-scenes journal on video. And now that we are entering the Patreon era, I'm experimenting with keeping an audio journal in the morning. And it does occur to me that there are technologies out there now that can transcribe an audio track. So it is a possibility for me to record an audio journal like this and then run it through the program, and it will spit out a written version. It will type it out for me. And I've thought about doing that, but I think the good services you have to pay for, and it would also take time, because it's not going to do a perfect job. It's not going to recognize names for the most part. I think I've done experiments in the past with this, and these programs do manage to listen to my voice. The way I speak is pretty clear, I think, for the most part. And these programs do a really nice job of transcribing what I say, but it's never perfect. So after the program has transcribed the entire audio file, then you have to sit down and go through the whole thing, correct the spelling, correct mistaken word choices, fix up the punctuation, things like that. So it would add a great deal of time. The attraction for me with this audio approach is that it's very fast. All I do, I sit here, I talk for a while, I'm drinking coffee, and then I copy the audio file to my laptop and I upload it, and I'm done in less than 5 minutes. And as I've talked about a few times, I did another audio experiment yesterday, for example. I went out for a bike ride to purchase a ferry ticket, and I'll talk about that next. And I decided to just keep this microphone, the Rode Wireless Go, around my neck and have it on while I'm riding my bike, just for fun, just to see what that feels like. So as I was riding my bike, I was narrating the bike ride, talking about things going on around me. You can hear the noise of the traffic, things like that. And I was talking about that okay, yeah, it would be better if this was video, because I'm in Indonesia, everything around me is fascinating and amazing and exotic. The whole point is to record all this on video, but you can't record your entire life on video. It takes too much time. So if I got out my GoPros and then I recorded a video about going to the office to buy a ferry ticket, it would take me the next 2 days to edit and upload that video. And is that event important enough to document to that extent? And then I'm starting to feel, no, it isn't. Because if you spend 2 days for every single time you go out to run an errand, editing the video afterwards, well, you're never going to have time to actually go do anything more fun or more interesting. Think about somebody again like Itchy Boots, who I keep using as an example. She doesn't take video of any of that stuff. And to be honest, I kind of wish she did, and she never talks about it. But when it comes to all the logistics and all the preparations, doing all the work behind the scenes, she never takes video of any of that. And that means she can use all of her energy only making videos about the most dramatic parts of her journey. She's on her motorcycle, she's riding through the mountains, she's stuck in the mud, she's in beautiful places, interesting places. And she has time to do that because she's not taking video of going to the store to buy water, getting a SIM card, going to the ticket office to, like, she even started her most recent journey in Turkey, and she had shipped her motorcycle there, which, man, that must have been a huge job. But I don't know what was involved in that. Where I guess she was in Germany, or maybe she was back in the Netherlands. I'm not sure. But how in the world do you ship a motorcycle to Turkey from the Netherlands? Did she box it up, like crate it? And what kind of a company did she use? And how long did it take to organize this? And then all of the paperwork and the customs. And I mean, it would be a huge job. And she just ignored all of that, shot no video about it, never documented it, never talked about it. And then she somehow went to Turkey herself. So she shipped her motorcycle, and then she went to go meet her motorcycle. But how did she do that? How did she get from the Netherlands to Turkey? Did she fly? Did she hitchhike? Did she walk? Did she take a train? Did she take a bus? No idea, because she didn't shoot any video about it. And she made the decision to ignore all of that because she knows her audience would be bored silly by that. They want to see her on the motorcycle, flying the drone, crashing, motorcycle breakdown, getting stuck in the mud, stuff like that. So if she shot video about crating the motorcycle, shipping the motorcycle, going to get the motorcycle, it would take her days and days, if not weeks, to edit all those videos, and then she wouldn't have any time left over for the journey that she's actually supposed to be going on. If you see what I mean. So I feel much the same way these days. But I do still love behind-the-scenes stuff. So I did this experiment yesterday just by recording audio. And of course, I'm going to tell the story of yesterday here in this audio journal, which will only take me an hour to record and 5 minutes to upload. So it is a possibility, if someone is interested in the behind-the-scenes stories, they can listen to the Planet Doug podcast as an audio file, because I don't have the time to make the video version. So that's what I'm talking about. So if someone sees the Planet Doug Patreon and sees this audio story about going to get a ferry ticket, they might think, that's dumb. Why didn't he shoot video? He's out riding around in Indonesia, in Tanjung, Balai. Why not shoot video about this? Video would be so much better. But my argument at this point would be, well, yeah, of course, video is going to be better than audio, particularly for YouTube. But this audio that you're listening to is it's not a result of choosing between audio and video. The choice is between audio and nothing. Because, as I said, as I just explained, you can't really record all of this on video because the editing and the uploading and the exporting, it just takes way too long and would absorb all your time. You have to pick and choose what you take video of. And of course, this audio technically is not being uploaded to YouTube. At the moment, it is being uploaded to Patreon. Though I'm very serious about somehow turning it into a real podcast. At the moment, all it is an audio track, an audio file that I upload directly to Patreon. And it just sits there on Patreon, and you have to open the Patreon app in order to play it. It can't be played on YouTube. Like the videos that I upload, they're actually on YouTube. You can see them on Patreon, but they're actually playing on YouTube. The audio is not. It is only on Patreon. But there is a little button on Patreon when you upload an audio file. There's a little toggle switch that says something about make it available to RSS feeds. And they say, well, this will then allow people to listen to it on their favorite podcasting device, whether it's Spotify or whatever they use. But I don't know how to do that. I don't know how that works. And then YouTube itself has a podcasting platform, but I don't know how it works. I can't figure it out, and I don't understand it. And as I talked about the other day, YouTube doesn't allow you to upload audio-only files. They have to be video files. So even if it's only audio, you still have to have a video track of some kind, whether you put in a static image or just some lettering or whatever it is you do. It has to have a video. It has to be a video file. It can't be an audio file. And I don't know how to do that reasonably or easily. So anyway, I don't understand I listen to podcasts all the time. Podcasts have been a huge part of my life for well over a decade, maybe 2 decades, longer than that. But I don't know how they work. I don't know how you make a podcast. So many people are doing it now. Apparently it's very easy to do, but I don't know. I tried reading about it. I've done research, and I don't understand anything that I'm reading. I just don't get it. I don't get the big picture. So anyway, here I am recording my Planet Doug podcast, AKA the Planet Doug audio journal for, did I already say the date? For Tuesday, November 19th, I believe. And the big story from yesterday was going to get my ferry ticket. So as I've explained, I have to go on a little bit of, I don't have to, I get to go on a little detour to Jakarta. So I have to go to Jakarta because I'm meeting up with a Planet Doug mystery benefactor who is donating a brand new laptop, which I am so excited about. I still can't believe it. I'm so excited about that. And again, more about that in a minute. So with this detour, I have to go to Jakarta. And after a lot of thought, I decided it makes the most sense, the most convenient, and the cheapest way for me to get to Jakarta is to go to Malaysia first. So then I'm going to hop on the ferry, go back to Port Dickson, and then I have to stay in Malaysia for a week and then fly to Jakarta. And the reason for that is that my Indonesian visa expires on the 24th. So it expires on Sunday, I believe. And so for me to go to Malaysia, I have to go there this week. I can't wait until my Jakarta rendezvous. I have to go there before the 24th, and there is no boat on the 24th, so I decided to go on Saturday the 23rd. I get so nervous whenever I start thinking about dates because I'm always imagining that I made a mistake. I chose the wrong date. No, my visa actually expires on the 22nd, and I booked the ferry for I panic. I experience a mild panic every time. Kind of funny, but I think I'm right. My visa expires on the 24th, and I wanted to buy a ticket for I could go today or tomorrow or the 21st or the 22nd, but I decided to stay here as long as possible because I like it here, and it's half the cost of living in Malaysia. That's one thing I'm not looking forward to in terms of going back to Malaysia. I need a place to stay, of course, and the cheapest hotels in Malaysia are at least twice as expensive as where I'm staying in Sumatra, and then you have to pay the tourist tax on top of that. Malaysia is just so much more expensive than a place like Sumatra or Vietnam, and you actually get much less for your money than in these other countries. So I'm not looking forward to that. I'd like to stay here as long as possible just because it's cheaper, but I have no choice. I have to go to Malaysia before or on the 24th. So I knew where the ferry company was, the Indomall ticket office, and I got on my bike, and I was going to ride my bike there. It's like 3-4 kilometers away, something like that. And it was an interesting day for many reasons. As I mentioned, I decided to record audio, so I put the road around my neck, and I was sort of narrating the bike trip as I went. And I shot a Relive video at the same time. So I had my smartphone running Relive, and I had a GoPro recording a time lapse. And this gets back to the whole idea of Patreon, that on this particular day, I can't shoot a video because I don't want to spend 2 days editing a video about buying my ticket. It's too much. It's too much work, takes too much time. But since I have a Patreon, what I can do is do smaller things, like a time lapse. And I love shooting time lapses, but I kind of stopped shooting time lapses because nobody on YouTube seemed to like them very much. I would upload, from time to time, I would shoot a time lapse. This was back when I was zooming around the Bukatingi area on a scooter or my bicycle, and I would record an actual Planet Doug video, but then I would also have a GoPro shooting a time lapse at the same time, and I would upload both of them. So I'd upload the video, and then just as a bonus, I would upload the time lapse, and I would think, wow, people are really going to love this time lapse. But the reaction in general seemed to be, nobody cares. And the other reaction was, we don't want time lapses, we want videos. So people would complain that it's a time lapse. It's like, time lapses are boring, you should make a video, a real video instead. We want to hear you talking. And of course I would argue, well, I did that. I posted a video of me talking and documenting it as a real video. This time lapse is a bonus. It's something extra. It's something fun. But people don't see it that way for whatever reason. Whenever you post like a bonus track, a short, fun thing to YouTube, people usually don't like it because it's not what they're expecting. So anyway, I stopped doing that. I stopped posting time lapses. I stopped posting 360 videos. I stopped posting like slideshows. Sometimes I would take these bonus clips and I would put them at the end of the main video. I don't think very few people ever saw them because you don't make it that far in the video as a rule on YouTube. Very few people do. Only the amazing members of the Crunch Club ever make it that far. But I don't know, just sticking them on at the end as a bonus track wasn't very satisfying. But now, if I have a Patreon, it's a perfect place for all of this stuff. And I'm still experimenting with that, like what kind of content can you make for Patreon? How long does it take to do it? Is it worth the amount of work you put into it? How do you do it? What's the best way to do it? So yesterday I did an experiment where I'm going to buy a ferry ticket and I recorded 3 things. I recorded 4 things as it turned out. I recorded a Relive 3D animated map. I recorded a time lapse. I recorded an audio narration, and something interesting happened at some point, so I did record a bit of video, but I think of that video as like a vignette, a little scene, like not a full video of the whole experience. It was just like one vignette, something that happened, and I've put that on the main Planet Doug channel so far, like here in Tanjung, Balai. I started recording all these little individual moments throughout my day. It wasn't part of an overarching story. It would just be like a little moment, buying some banana snacks, running into some people, having a quick chat, taking selfies together, my lunch, little things that they're not connected. It was a rainstorm. I recorded a bit of video of the rainstorm. They were fixing the road outside my hotel, putting down new tar. I shot some video of that. And then I took all these little clips and I put them all together in an hour-long video that I called vignettes, like Planet Doug vignettes. So I'm not telling a story, it's not a day, it's just a little clips that I just stuck together. And I could put those on Patreon, but so many interesting things happened, I thought maybe I'd put it on Planet Doug. And yeah. So anyway, yesterday I shot a vignette as well. So I shot 4 small things during the day instead of one big video. And then when I got back here to my room, it was very easy to do. I had to finish the Relive, which means the Relive app is running on your phone, and then when the day is over, you stop it, you stop the app, and then you add text to the photos. You pick what photos go into it, and then you write a little bit of text to describe what was going on at that point in the day. So it takes a little bit of time, but the thing is, in terms of Patreon, it's not extra time because I do relive videos for Planet Doug all the time anyway. So now I got back to my room and I finished the relive, but then instead of putting it onto a Planet Doug video, I uploaded it to YouTube, but I set it to being available only from Patreon. And at the moment, it is a bonus or a perk for the very first tier, which I'm calling the Forest Planet. So anyone who has joined or chosen to live on the Forest Planet or above, they would have access to the Relive 3D animated map. And then I also did the time lapse, and the time lapse ended up taking a bit longer to edit and export, and it ended up being quite a large file. I guess the time lapse was shot in 4K. So originally I exported it as a 4K video, and I did a narration, which is quite interesting. So I put the whole time lapse together on a timeline. Like I have to edit it as a real video, but I did it on my smartphone because I ended up with 4 different time lapses because every part of the journey was separate. Riding to the ticket office, then riding from the ticket office to downtown Tanjung Balai, and then riding from downtown Tanjung Balai back to my hotel, and then there's another segment. So the time lapse had 4 different segments. I had to put all 4 together in the editing program on my smartphone, and once I had it all there, of course there's no audio in a time lapse, so then I could either put music underneath it or I can narrate, and I decided to narrate. So I plugged my microphone into my smartphone, and then I let the time-lapse play in the editing program, and while I was watching the time-lapse, I was just describing what was going on, and I narrated the time-lapse. And that was very fast to do. I know how to do it now. I have all the technology figured out. I did it very, very quickly. And then I exported it, but it ended up being 4 gigabytes. Again, because it is a 4K video. But then I exported it as a 1080p video, and that's 1 gigabyte. So that would be a lot faster to upload. But then I ran into another problem. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I haven't talked about this a lot, or maybe I have, I can't remember. But even though my MacBook broke down when I was in Port Dickson, and I no longer had a laptop to edit video, and I've had to edit all my video on a smartphone again, a Planet Doug subscriber did give me an old laptop that they had kicking around their house. It was something that nobody was using anymore, an Asus VivoBook. And he was thinking, oh, Doug can use this to edit video since his MacBook is broken. Turns out it can't edit video. It's just not powerful enough. And there's something broken inside it. I'm not sure what, but it can't edit video. So I'm still editing video on a smartphone, but I've been using the Asus VivoBook to do all of this work on Patreon, uploading items to Patreon, setting it up, doing all of the mechanical work of setting up the Patreon. I'm doing all of that on the Asus VivoBook. So I was in the middle of uploading the time-lapse because I use the Asus VivoBook for uploading videos as well. Doing it on the smartphone, it doesn't work, so I have to use a laptop to upload. So the Asus VivoBook has been extremely useful for me. Even though I can't use it to edit video, I can use it to write emails, to upload videos, to work on the Patreon, things like that. But then yesterday, the VivoBook died, and it would not upload video anymore. And then I was trying to edit the audio, like I had the audio track, the audio narration of my bike ride. I don't edit that on a smartphone. I have this program called Audacity that I downloaded to my laptop, to the Asus VivoBook, and I've been editing these audio tracks on the Asus, but then yesterday, for some reason, it wouldn't work. The video would be the audio would be playing, and then it would just freeze. Just out of nowhere, freeze up. The whole computer would freeze up, and it would be frozen for like 15 seconds, and then it would play for like 10 seconds, and then it would freeze up for another 15. And this went on so long, I gave up. I couldn't edit the audio track anymore, and the video, the time lapse, wasn't uploading anymore. And then I suddenly got the modern Windows equivalent of the blue screen of death, where it said, your laptop has encountered a problem and it needs to shut down. And then the whole laptop just went and shut down. And there was like a QR code on the screen telling me what the problem was, but it happened so fast I wasn't able to scan the QR code, so I don't know what the problem was or what the error code was. So anyway, the whole laptop died, and I restarted it, and it turned back on again, and I thought, okay, that's fine, I can keep going. But then the same thing happened. I got the blue screen of death that said, your computer has encountered a problem, a serious problem, and needs to shut down. And it did it again, and then it did it 4 times. And basically yesterday, I was unable to do anything on the Asus VivoBook because the laptop just kept shutting down. I haven't turned it on yet this morning, so I don't know whether, I don't know, maybe it got a good rest last night. I'll fire it up, because now I'm recording this audio journal, this podcast. I need to upload it to Patreon, and I need the Asus VivoBook to do that, and I need the VivoBook to continue building the Patreon. But now I'm worried that I'm stuck again, because now the VivoBook won't work anymore, and it just died. So we'll see. Hopefully, because I need it for the next 2 weeks. This new laptop that I'm getting hopefully will solve all of my laptop video audio editing issues, because it's a brand new laptop and it's a powerful laptop with tons of memory, all the ports you could possibly want. It's got everything. Beautiful screen. It should be, and a good battery, a battery that works. It should solve all of my problems, but I don't get it for 2 weeks, and I really need a laptop for the next 2 weeks. I was really counting on having this VivoBook for this week, the remaining week in Sumatra, and then 1 week in Malaysia. I was really counting on that machine, but now apparently, it won't work anymore. But I will find out after I have my morning coffee and record this little Planet Doug podcast. So, yeah. So some of the things like the time lapse from yesterday, I think it's really cool. I enjoyed it a lot. But I wasn't able to complete it and upload it to Patreon. And I mentioned I also shot a vignette. And this was quite interesting because after I bought my ferry ticket, I rode my bike to the waterfront. There's quite an interesting park that runs alongside the river here in Tanjung, Balai. And it's a very social area. If you go there on the weekend, it's full of visitors from outside of Tanjung Balai. They go there to just hang out by the river, and then you can hire local boatmen to take you on riverboat tours. And that's something I want to do in Tanjung Balai this time before I leave, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But anyway, I figured I would ride along the river because it's a more scenic area. And then I went there on my bike, and I walked my bike along this sidewalk, and there's a railing there, and I stopped at the railing just to look out at the river. And then some students from a nearby school, all in their school uniform, they saw me, and then quite a large number of them, I don't know, 30 maybe, 20 at least, between 20 and 30, I think all classmates at this school, they all came rushing up to me just to talk, just to say hi, and of course we all took pictures together. That was quite a scene. And my GoPro time lapse was still running, but because it was attached to my bicycle, the bicycle was just leaning against the railing, and it was pointing in a random direction. So the whole selfie session, when these students first came up to talk to me, none of that was captured in the time lapse. And I didn't take any video of it in any other way, so I have no record of that exactly. But then the students suggested we move out of the sun and into a shady area. There was a kind of a tent or an awning there and some trees. So we moved into this shady area, and that brought us in front of the GoPro that was recording the time lapse. So you actually see a little bit of this in the time lapse. And then they asked me whether I had a YouTube channel. They saw the GoPro and they said, "Oh, are you a YouTuber? Are you a YouTuber?" I said, "Yes." I gave them cards, my name cards for Planet Doug. And then I took that as a opportunity to take out my smartphone and record video of them, because I didn't have a photo of them yet. I didn't have a picture of this whole scene. They took selfies, they took pictures of us with their phones, but I didn't get a picture with my phone. But then I took out my phone and I started recording video, and then I have like a 6-minute sequence of video of us together and chatting with them. They're asking me questions. And the most interesting thing that happened when we were talking was, at one point, I didn't understand at first, but they asked me about my eyes, whether they were real. Like, are your eyes real? And that I didn't quite know what they were getting at first, but then I realized, oh yes, I have blue eyes, and I definitely don't think of my eyes as anything special. I don't have striking blue eyes like Itchy Boots does, or you hear about beautiful women who have amazing eyes. Their eyes really stand out. My eyes are not like that. They're just normal, everyday blue eyes, I guess. But for them, they really noticed them because they all had dark eyes, and unless in the past they had a chance to meet somebody from, my background, of course, is from the Netherlands. My family roots go back to the Netherlands, and people in the Netherlands, like Itchy Boots, we tend to have blue eyes. So unless they've met foreigners in the past and they were standing 2 feet away from other foreigners, maybe in their life they had never seen someone with blue eyes or green eyes or brown eyes before, because everyone in Indonesia has the same dark colored eyes. So for them, my blue eyes were quite unusual, and it struck them as quite blue, like really blue, and they thought maybe I was wearing contact lenses or something. And they said, "Are your eyes, are those real? Are those real eyes?" And yeah, they're just normal eyes. I didn't even know how to talk about it. But yeah, no contact lenses, no special coloring. These are just my normal eyes, and that was kind of interesting. So anyway, I got that whole scene on video. And normally, if I were recording a Planet Doug video, I would have recorded the bike ride to the ticket office. I would have recorded buying the ticket. I would have recorded riding my bike to an ice cream parlor, recorded eating my ice cream, recorded riding my bike to the waterfront, recorded chatting with the students, and then I would have recorded riding my bike back to the hotel. And that would have been one Planet Doug video. But in this case, I wasn't recording a complete video about the day. So all I have in terms of video is this 6-minute vignette, and I have the 20-minute time lapse or something like that. 5-minute time lapse. I don't know how long it is. So now, the question is what to do with that vignette. Do I just upload it to Patreon as a little vignette? Or do I keep it and then combine it with a whole bunch of other vignettes and make a full video for Planet Doug. That's kind of what I want to do right now, because this interaction with these students was so interesting. I think it deserves to be on Planet Doug official. So I'm thinking about just uploading it to Planet Doug as a 6-minute video. But again, I'm nervous about doing that because, yeah, people don't seem to like bonus videos on Planet Doug, which is why I'm putting all the bonus videos on Patreon now. But I may record other, like I could take the time lapse, and I could take the vignette, and I could shoot more vignettes today until I have like an hour's worth of vignettes, put them all together and upload them to Planet Doug. So that's kind of the choice I have in terms of what to do with this video. And in terms of buying the ferry ticket, that went quite smoothly. And I talked about this already, that it went so smoothly that I was worried that I did something wrong, because I'm not accustomed to things being that easy. Because I parked my bike in front of the office, I locked it up, I went inside, there was one woman behind the counter. There's always this man sitting at a table in front, and I guess he is sort of reception, security, he's a helper or something. Anyway, he opened the door for me, he ushered me inside, and then I went up to the counter, and the woman was there, and she spoke enough English that we could communicate. And then they had a calendar on the counter, and they had information about one-way, two-way tickets, the prices, things like that. And then I looked at my options, trying to decide, should I go on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday? And I decided, okay, let's go on Saturday. So I told her I would like a one-way ticket, VIP ticket, to Port Dickson, because that's the only place the ferry goes, doesn't go anywhere else, only to Port Dickson, and on Saturday, November 23rd. The ticket itself cost 650,000 rupiah, and then the VIP portion is 50,000 extra. So that's what I got, and I think the grand total was, it comes to $41 US to go on the ferry. And then when you get to the dock, you also have to pay for your luggage. But if you have a small amount of luggage, like a normal amount, then it isn't very expensive. So basically, it costs about $40. Let's say with luggage, $45 to fly, $45 to take the ferry from Tanjung Balai to Port Dickson. So I got my ticket, and I was all done. Had a very interesting chat with the woman there. It doesn't always work out for me, but whenever I'm doing something like this, buying a train ticket or doing anything like this, I kind of like a bit of small talk. And I guess that's partially because I'm doing all these things alone. I'm by myself here in Tanjung Balai, and I share my stories this way on my podcast and in video form, but I don't have a companion. I don't have any friends. I have nobody to talk to, really. So when I'm buying a ticket and I'm dealing with a ticket clerk, they're like the only person I'm going to be talking to for the entire day in a way. So I really want to have a chat. I want to tell them my stories. I don't want to just have a dry, bureaucratic interaction. I would like one ticket, please, and then I give them the money and I leave. No, I want to have a little chat. I want to have some fun. And it doesn't always work, because sometimes the ticket seller looks at me like I'm a lunatic. Like, hey, buddy, I'm not your best friend. I'm just here to sell you a train ticket. Why are you telling me the story of your life? But anyway, this woman was very friendly, and I said to her, oh, you know, I've done this before. I've taken this boat in the past. And then she said, to my surprise, yeah, I know. I remember you. And I went, oh, she remembered me. Because I took this ferry maybe 1 year ago. I can't remember the day or the date or the month or even the year. But I took this ferry before, and I came to the same office, and I bought a ticket in exactly the same way. And I guess this woman was in the office at that time, and I would have bought a ticket from her before. But of course, I didn't remember her in particular, but she remembered me. So I was like, oh, that's amazing, da 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 da. And I'm just babbling at her, talking about random things. And then, again, continuing with the small talk, I asked her, have you ever taken the boat? I'm thinking she works for Indomal Fast Ferry. So as an employee, maybe they give her a big discount for the ticket, or maybe they give her free tickets that maybe she can take the boat anytime she wants to Malaysia. So I figured she must have taken advantage of that. So I asked her, oh, have you ever taken the boat? Maybe the company gives you a free ticket. And if I understood her correctly, she said that yes, she can get a free ticket for the boat, but she never has. And the reason she never has is she never has a day off. So she said she's been working there for 2 years, and in 2 years, she has never once had a day off, which I find astonishing. Not only has she worked every day for 2 years, she's never had a holiday, never had a week off, never had a weekend off. So she's never had the opportunity. And I don't know what her hours are, how long she works every day. Maybe it's a pretty casual schedule. But anyway, it seemed pretty crazy. So in fact, like I said, I bought a ticket from her a year ago. I don't remember the day, but let's call it a year ago. And ever since that day until yesterday, all the experiences I've had, being in Malaysia, going to Vietnam, everything I've done, every unusual, interesting, exciting day that I've had in the past year until then, every one of those days, she was in that office working, which seems kind of crazy. You got to have 1 day a week off, don't you, at least? And at least a week a year? Anyway, working every day for 2 years seems pretty excessive. But she did explain that the salary for her job is a bit higher, or she seemed to imply that it was significantly higher than the norm for that kind of job in Indonesia, and that's why she has to work every day. The salary is higher, and so her higher salary comes with the responsibility of working every single day of the year. So yeah, quite interesting to hear that. And quite often when I hear these unusual things about life in other countries, I think 50% of the time or more, I'm just misunderstanding. I think you have to be very careful when you're a foreigner like me in other countries, because I've run into this all the time, talking with other foreigners, other backpackers or travelers or YouTubers. They'll go somewhere and then tell me something, and I know they're completely wrong because I've been to the same place, but it's what they understood. And I think a lot of us who go to other countries, we come away with facts and ideas and things we think we know about that country, but it turns out we are completely wrong because all of the information was wrong. And a lot of it comes from asking yes-no questions. I've noticed that where you're trying to find out things about people and you ask them a yes-no question, and the people will just say yes all the time because it's the easiest thing to do. They don't really know what you're asking them, but they'll just say yes anyway. And then you go away thinking you got an answer to your question, but it turns out they're just saying yes and they don't really know, they don't really mean it. And then, so I might ask her, so you work every single day? You never get a day off? And then she says, yes. So for 2 years, you never had a holiday? And she says, yes. So she kept saying yes to all of my questions, but who knows? Maybe I misunderstood everything. But anyway, I came away with this idea that she works every single day, doesn't get any days off, and never gets a holiday. And that's because her salary is higher than normal. So I got my ticket, VIP. Oh, the boat leaves at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, whoa, I kind of forgot about that. And yeah, 7 a.m., which means, of course, being at the dock. They want you at the dock at 5 a.m., like going to an airport. So yeah, that's going to be something. And then I guess, in theory, depending on how long the trip takes, I'll be arriving in Port Dickson pretty early in the day, around noon, I guess. 5 hours takes you to noon. And then with the time difference, how does that work? Yeah, I can't remember. I think I'll be going back in time, I think. So if it takes 5 hours, I would be arriving at 12 o'clock Indonesia time, but maybe it's 11 o'clock Malaysia time. So I'll be getting into Malaysia pretty darn early, which is interesting. But I have to get up pretty early, which is generally not a big problem for me. I just go to bed early so I can wake up early. But I also have to get to the dock by 5 a.m. And I have a bit of a history with that, because the last time I did this, I was staying at the Grand Singhi Hotel, which is downtown, quite close to the Indo Mall office. And at that time, they said to me, oh, we have a van, so we can pick you up and take you to the dock. It's part of the service they offer. So at that time, I went, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's great. Okay, cool. And we made arrangements, and they said, okay, be down in the lobby at 5 a.m., and we will come get you. So I was down in the lobby at 4:45 in the morning, waiting for them to come, and they never came. No van ever showed up. And I'm in the lobby waiting and waiting and waiting, and I kept sending them messages as time was going by. I was getting nervous, and I started sending them, because I'm connected with them on WhatsApp, and I sent them a message saying, hey, I'm in the lobby, I'm waiting, I'm at the Grand Singhi Hotel, just to let you know, just to remind you, I'm here. But I never got a reply to the messages, and eventually I waited so long, I had to go, because it was getting late. I couldn't wait any longer. So then I just went outside, and because this is the Grand Singhi Hotel, there's always Baycheck waiting outside, because it's a fancier hotel, so they're always out there waiting. And then I negotiated with one of the drivers. I can't remember what it was. I think he said, I don't know, 100,000 rupiah or something to go. And I knew this was way too much, and I countered with something else. And I think it cost 50,000 rupiah to go to the dock. Anyway, we settled on something. I don't usually negotiate these things, but at that time, I had numbers in my head for some reason. And I think I was talking to the clerk at the hotel, and I asked him, like, how much does it cost to take a Baycheck to the dock? And he said some very, very, very low number, something like, oh, that'd be 20,000 rupiah to go to the dock. So I'm thinking, okay, 20,000, the foreigner price is going to be double that, so let's say 50,000. So I was all set for the Baycheck driver to say 50,000, which is double the normal, like more than double, and I would just go, okay, that's fine, let's go. But then he said something like 150,000 or 100,000. He said something quite high, and then I kind of went, come on, dude, don't make me out to be a complete idiot. Let's compromise a little bit here. And I said something else, and we settled on 50,000. I can't remember the numbers anymore, but that was the gist of what happened. And then I was recording video on my GoPro at the time, and then I thought, wow, since I'm in the Baycheck, why don't I break out my 360 camera? And I shot some 360 camera video on the way to the dock, and it was a whole big deal. And then when I was at the dock, going through customs and going through immigration, finally I got a message on WhatsApp from Indo Mall, and it was an apology, because someone finally woke up or finally got to the office, turned on the phone, the company phone, and they saw all my messages saying, I'm in the lobby, I'm waiting. So now they knew that they had screwed up. And then I got a message saying, I'm sorry, sir, I forgot to tell them to come pick you up. So we made the arrangements and everything was settled, but they forgot to tell the driver, so they never came to get me. So anyway, when I was at the ticket office this time, and I realized I was going to have to be at the dock at 5 a.m., I thought, well, I might as well ask them. And I asked the woman, oh, so do you offer this hotel pickup service? And then I was going to ask her, like, how much does it cost? And then she sort of said, well, maybe. I don't know. She doesn't know whether she can offer me hotel pickup or not. And then I told her the story about how I was supposed to get hotel pickup last time, and then you guys never came. And I even showed her the message on my phone that they sent to me. It might have been her who sent me that message. She didn't say that it was her, but it might have been her that actually sent me the apology. I'm sorry, sir. We completely forgot about you. And then this time she said, we don't know, or I don't know. And I don't know why they don't know. It might be that it depends how many people request hotel pickup. If only one person, it's not worth it to them. So maybe if 5 people do, or maybe they have a minimum amount. So she basically said, I'm going to have to get back to you. So I told her I would like hotel pickup. If it's available, why not? It'll make my life a lot easier. But she's going to get back to me. And we'll see how it works out this time. But this time I'm going to bombard them with messages beforehand. I remember last time I thought about doing it because we arranged it when I was at their office. We talked about it in detail and everything was settled. They even wrote it down. They knew what hotel, they knew my name, they knew my hotel room number, they had my phone number. So everything was settled. And then I felt like afterwards, as the day was getting nearer, I should remind them. I should send them a message, say, okay, so tomorrow morning you're coming to pick me up, is that right? I normally do stuff like that, but I thought, just leave them alone. I didn't want to bother them or bug them. So I never did send them a message to remind them or to confirm, basically to confirm that this was happening. So I never did, and then they ended up forgetting about me. So this time, I'm going to confirm it. As we get closer to the day, I'll send them more messages and say, so what about Saturday morning? Are you coming to pick me up? I'm going to bug them. You have to. You can't really stand on politeness, because if you do, you're just going to get forgotten again. But anyway, yesterday I noticed, at one point I got a notification on my phone. I got a new WhatsApp message. Oh, someone sent me a message. And I don't always, if I'm out riding my bike, I'm not constantly looking at my messages all the time. I wait until I'm back at my hotel or something. So I got a notification, and then I got back to the hotel and I went to see who messaged me, but it turns out it was Indo Mall, but then they deleted the message. So maybe she sent me a message, something to do with pickup and taking me to the dock, but then something changed, and then she deleted the message. So I don't know what the message was. And that was more or less all of my adventures from yesterday. Some other funny things happened, which is kind of interesting. I told the story in the time-lapse narration, but with my broken, possibly permanently broken down VivoBook, maybe I won't be able to upload it, so I can retell the story here. But as I was leaving my hotel to get on the bike, it was a bit of a struggle because they're doing construction at the hotel. They're putting in a cement driveway outside, I guess, a brand new cement pad. And you can't just roll the bike out to the road. So I rolled my bike partway there, and then I had to pick it up, lift it over a ditch and all this construction, and then put it on the pavement, and then get on my bike and ride away. And because of all this construction and the new tarmac, the road is really, really narrow right now. And if you're at the edge of the road on your bicycle, it's really dangerous because there's so much traffic. and it's going in two directions, and you can easily get hit. So I'm there. I'm just about to ride away, but then a woman who was having breakfast at a little table at the side of the road, she jumped up and came towards me, and turns out she was from the city of Siantar, and she knew me. I don't know, I've noticed this here in Tanjung, Balai. A lot of people know me by name, and I'm not entirely sure how or why. But anyway, she came up to me, "Hey, Doug, hello, Doug, Doug," and she's calling out my name. And then she comes up to me, and then she just wanted to talk. She knew about me, she knew who I was, she knew about the YouTube channel, and it felt like we had met before, but I didn't dare ask her. It's like, "Oh, like, have we met before?" Because I didn't want to insult her by saying, "I don't remember you." Like, if we did, it kind of felt like I should know who this woman was, but I couldn't remember. But anyway, we had quite a long conversation there. But the entire time, I was straddling my bicycle at the side of the road, and the traffic roaring past me. It got more and more crazy. Dump trucks were going by. Dump trucks were parking beside me, causing a traffic jam. Anyway, that was pretty wild. I have all of that on audio, actually, our conversation. And then I did say to her at one point, it's like, "Oh, I think I better go. I'm causing a traffic jam here." And then she laughed away. She laughed at that and said, "Don't worry about it. That's Indonesia. That's normal for here. Don't worry about it." So anyway, that was pretty funny. And then I eventually said goodbye to this woman. She actually wanted me to have breakfast with her or have tea or have snacks or something, but I declined because I had to go. I mean, I could have, I suppose, but I was really in the mood to go get this ferry ticket. I was pretty focused on that, and I didn't want to delay by an hour or two. By the time I got to the office, they might be closed for lunch or something. I really wanted to get going, so I said thank you, but no, I have to go. So I said goodbye, and then I left. And then, then went to the ticket office, went to the riverfront, met the students, and then came back here. And those were my adventures for the day. The other thing that I did while I was out, I popped into a pharmacy. That was quite interesting. I wanted to ask them if they had any kind of sleep aid for me. Like, do you have anything that can help someone sleep? Because recently I was sort of experimenting with antihistamines, because I remember from the past that antihistamines make you sleepy. They make you drowsy. They really make me drowsy. So I had antihistamines, and I took one or two in the last little while. I will take one before I go to bed, and I got an amazing night of sleep, and I felt so much better the next day. And I was like, wow, okay, maybe this is something I should do from time to time. Perhaps not every night. You don't want to drug yourself up every night, but every third night or something, take an antihistamine and get a good night's sleep. It can really make a difference in your life. And I had some kind of a cold remedy, and the cold remedies also have kind of an antihistamine in them, because antihistamines, I take them when I have a bad cold because it dries up my nose. I hate having a runny nose, and sometimes maybe it's stress. I think I have a little bit of a skin reaction to stress, where I can break out in hives or rashes a little bit, and mosquito bites as well. If I get bit by a lot of mosquitoes, an antihistamine can reduce the itchiness dramatically. So I do often have antihistamines in my first aid kit, and I found out that, and cold remedies, and they really help me sleep. So then I dropped by this pharmacy, and I wanted to ask them, like, do you have something that's actually meant to help people sleep at night? What do you got? So I popped into this pharmacy, and I used Google Translate and sign language. I'm miming sleeping at night, and I wrote everything out on Google Translate. And then I didn't really drill down on it. I didn't ask for more and more and more information. What I mean is that the woman said, "Oh, yeah, we have something." And she went to the counter, came back, and handed me a little package of pills and said, "Here, this can help you sleep." And I looked at it, and I saw instantly that it was a natural formula. It's something called LELAP, LELAP, and in English it says natural formula. So I got the impression that these are not hardcore drugs. Like it's not. Like, what is the? There's a famous drug that doctors will prescribe, like an actual prescription drug that helps people sleep. I can't think of it right now. It's a very well-known name. You hear it in movies and TV shows all the time. I think people even have trouble with it. They get addicted to it or something. They take too much of it. I think that's it. Not that they get addicted to it, but they take too much of it, more than they should. And you're not supposed to combine it with alcohol. It can have all these terrible side effects. So it isn't that. She wasn't giving me a prescription drug. It was something, a natural formula. And as soon as I saw natural formula, I kind of went, that's probably not going to do it. Because, I mean, if this is herbal incense of tree root or something, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. I kind of need the hardcore drugs. Like, I know chemical antihistamines, they work. But these herbal remedies, I don't have a lot of faith in them. But anyway, it was the first thing she handed me, and I thought, well, I'm not going to say to her, okay, well, what else you got? You got something stronger? I thought, well, give these a try. Why not? And so when she handed me these, I looked at them, and I kind of looked at the ingredients. But the ingredients were kind of funny, too, because I thought it would say something, like I said, like essence of mushroom, tree root fragrance, like all these weird herbal things. But the list of ingredients kind of seems a little bit herbally, but they're also really weird chemical sounds. Like, for example, there's 250 milligrams of Valeriana officinalis radix. And then there is 100 milligrams of Panax eleutheroginseng radix. Oh, ginseng. Okay, there you go. But they don't say ginseng. They say Panax eleutheroginseng radix. And then there's 135 milligrams, a very precise amount, of Polygala tenuifolia radix. And then there's vanilla flavor, blue dye number 2 and blue dye number 1, and titanium dioxide. So it's quite a grab bag thing. So I don't really know what the heck is in here. And I took one last night, and based on my just anecdotal feeling, it worked. It seemed to work. I felt drowsy, and I slept better than I normally do, but I could feel it wasn't the same as the antihistamine. So, for example, I usually wake up all night long. Like, normally, I never sleep through the night. I'll sleep for like an hour, wake up, sleep for an hour, wake up, sleep for an hour, wake up. And that goes on throughout the entire night. Every night to me normally feels like an eternity. It just goes on forever until I'm exhausted in the morning when I actually get out of bed. But then since I took the antihistamine, I actually slept through the night. I would wake up once at like 4, 5 a.m., and that's probably the call to prayer that woke me up. And then I would actually be able to go back to sleep. So I would get a full 6, 7, even 8 hours of sleep when I took the antihistamine. With the LELAP, this natural thing, I did feel drowsy. I could have been imagining things, but I thought I felt drowsy. Maybe I was just tired because I rode my bike all day long in the heat. Who knows? But I did feel drowsy, and I managed to go to sleep. But then I did wake up around 2 a.m., And then I couldn't get back to sleep for a long, long time. I just lay here in bed trying to sleep. And when I did the antihistamine, if I woke up at 2, I could go back to sleep again. But this time I couldn't, and I started playing podcasts, and I was up for a long time. I couldn't go back to sleep. Eventually I did, and then I woke up around 7. But it didn't have the same power as the antihistamine, but I think it had some kind of an effect. Anyway, I bought 3 packages. There's 4 pills in each package, and they're very inexpensive. A package of 4 cost 13,000 rupiah, and if you can hang in there with me for like 2 seconds, I think I can quickly tell you how much that is. 13,000 rupiah is 82 cents US, 3.5 ringgit. Somehow I thought it was cheaper even than that. But for 1 pill, it's 20 cents US per pill. And it does say you can take 1 to 2 tablets before you go to sleep. So maybe I'll try 2 tablets one night this week and see how it works out. But yeah, that was my other small adventure for the day. My all-natural sleep aid, Lelap. So, moving on to YouTube stories. Those are all of my, maybe I can wind up Planet Doug stories with just another thought about Patreon. Because what I was going to do today, my plan for today was to wake up, sit down on my Asus Vivo book, and I was going to start building the tiers. Like up until this point with Patreon, I've been designing it, uploading a lot of content, creating collections, and I've been writing out in documents a structure for Patreon, all the different tiers, and I'm still thinking about using the planet theme, but changing Jungle Planet to City Planet. So I would have the free level, then I would have Forest Planet, City Planet, Ocean Planet, and Mountain Planet. And as I described, the free one is going to be like a social media content. The Forest Planet is going to focus mainly, the centerpiece will be my journal, along with relive and some interesting things like that. And the relive and time lapses and the blue dot, all those sorts of bonus video tracks, plus my journal, whether audio journal, podcast, written journal. And then the second tier, either Jungle Planet or City Planet, that is going to be where I post all of the extra videos, behind the scenes Planet Doug videos, bonus videos, and and of course that tier would also get all of the first tier perks as well. So my idea is for the second tier, whether I call it City Planet or something else, that would be the beating heart of the Planet Doug Patreon. That would be where I want most people to sign up and where I would offer the most important extra videos. And then the Ocean and Mountain Planet would just be sort of there more for people who want to help out Planet Doug more. But it's not really about getting more benefits. They're happy with the perks from tiers 1 and 2, but they do want to say contribute more, so they're going to sign up for a higher tier. But they don't really expect more in return. But for that, I would still provide more. So for the Ocean Planet, my idea is to put on the extended cuts of Planet Doug videos, 360 videos if I shoot them, POV walking around videos, things like that. And these would be like select videos. I wouldn't make one of these for every single day or every single video that I post to Planet Doug. It would be more like when I do have a 360 video, then I will put it on here as a bonus for the ocean planet people, the people living on the planet Doug Ocean. And then the mountain planet would be the same, just at a higher level. So I have all these ideas in my head, I have all this written down, but I haven't actually created the tiers in Patreon itself, because I'm nervous about that. Then you're starting to actually create it in real life. And I'm worried about, okay, once you make one of these tiers, I don't know what happens. Can you go back and change it? Because I want to start building them, but I want it to be free to make changes, because the Patreon isn't public yet. So I want to keep massaging this and set it up and look at it and say, oh, you know, I think I should change this, I should change that, move things around until I'm happy with it. So I've been nervous about doing it. I wanted to start that process today, but today, well, yesterday, my VivoBook died. And I need my laptop in order to do this work. I can't really do it easily. I don't know if I can do it at all on my smartphone, because when I open up the Patreon app on my smartphone, I can't work on the Patreon. There's no option for me to do anything. So I have to do it on my laptop. But if the laptop isn't working, I'm kind of stuck all over again. Yeah, technology problems haunt me. But anyway, that was my plan for today. And my other big idea for Patreon right now, I've already talked about this, I think, is that I'm moving towards the idea of doing a soft launch. My original idea was to work on Patreon in the background, and when it was completely done, I'm happy with the entire thing, then I launch it. But now I'm thinking I should do a soft launch, because I asked a bunch of friends of mine for feedback. I sent them some documents, some of my ideas, like, what do you think about this? Do you think this is a good idea? Is this a good idea? Should I do it differently? And one of the things I figured out is that even friends of mine who know a lot about YouTube, they don't really know about Patreon. And even if they know about it, they're not that familiar with it. So I thought, I mean, I was under the impression that it's just common knowledge, and all I have to do is say, here it is, the Planet Doug Patreon is available, it's public. I just have to launch it, and then everybody, sort of like a grand opening of a store, like you open up a new Walmart in your hometown and you have a grand opening. Well, everybody knows what a Walmart is, and everybody's going to come rushing to the Walmart on the grand opening. But with Patreon, you have to tell them what it is first. So I realized that. I was like, okay. So when I announce the Patreon, I'm not going to announce the launch of the Patreon. I'm going to announce that it's coming. I'm working on a Planet Doug Patreon in the future, and then I will tell people what it is. And I'm probably going to do this several times, keep talking about it, giving progress updates, and taking advantage of that to educate people about Patreon, what it is, what I'm going to do with it, what its purpose is, how it works, how I view it, what my vision is for Patreon. And while I'm doing this, I can give links to Patreon content, mainly to the YouTube videos. Anything that's uploaded to YouTube, it's unlisted. And then when you go to Patreon, you can go to those videos. But you don't have to use Patreon to do that. Because the video is unlisted on YouTube, I can go to the community tab and post a link there. And I can say, this is an example of a Patreon video for the Jungle Planet tier. And then the people can click on that link and they can watch the video and they, oh, so that's what's on Patreon. And then I can upload time lapses. Like I can insert links to time lapses, to Relive, to the Blue Dot, to photo montage, behind the scenes videos, BTS videos. And if I manage to upload audio to YouTube as a podcast, I'll be able to offer sample Planet Doug podcasts as well, because I could use an unlisted link to them. Right now I can't do that because the audio, this podcast, is only on Patreon. And there's no way, the only way for people to see it on Patreon is if my Patreon is public. So I would have to make it available on YouTube or in some other place. No. Yeah, I would have to upload the audio to another platform in order for people to be able to listen to this podcast. So anyway, that's what I was going to work on today, but I won't know if I can do it or not. I'm going to, I'm very nervous about this, open up my Vivo book, make another cup of coffee, and see whether it will actually work today or not. I really hope it'll work. It'll be so annoying and difficult if it's not working now. So, moving on, YouTube stories. The other day I was talking about a new YouTube channel that I stumbled across called 2 Kick Around. And I was at first really interested in this channel because the video I watched was really interesting. 2 Kick Around is a YouTube channel from two Americans, a man and a woman, husband and wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend. Either way, they're a couple, and they are currently, or they have been for 2 years, riding Honda 600cc off-road motorbikes through Africa and the United States. And I happened to click on one of their videos, and in this video, it was almost a exact copy of an Itchy Boots video, but with more day-to-day content, more behind-the-scenes content, which I really enjoyed. So they're in the middle of Africa, and they're riding their motorbikes, and then they did things like go into the bus station area, these crazy African markets that you see, because they wanted to get a SIM card, and they documented this process of trying to get a SIM card, and then they rode their motorbikes up into the nearby mountains, really rough, rocky roads, gorgeous scenery. They crashed their motorbikes a couple of times. They flew a drone to get beautiful scenery. And then, so they had all these incredible adventures. They were chatting with people in the villages along the way. So it was a really interesting video. It had some quirks, things that I didn't like about it. I mentioned them yesterday in my podcast. The first quirk I didn't like is that they're using headsets to talk to each other. So the narration and the audio track consisted mainly of them just talking to each other. So you don't get the sense that they're talking to you as the viewer of the video. And that felt kind of weird in a way. It isn't as engaging because you're just eavesdropping on them chatting with each other. And I never thought of that until quite a bit later, but it's not the same as an Itchy Boots video where it's her by herself and everything is done for her audience. The video is for her audience. Everything she says, she's speaking directly to her audience. And of course, I do the same thing. Everything I do, I'm talking to the Planet Doug subscribers, the denizens of Planet Doug. It's not like I'm just talking to my friend and you're listening to my conversation, but that's what their videos are like because they have these headsets in their helmets and they're each riding a separate motorcycle, and they talk to each other through the headsets. And that's what the audio is mostly. So that was one quirk I didn't like. And the other quirk was that they've fallen into this habit, maybe it's an accepted relationship between them, where the man just kept telling the woman how to ride her motorcycle, kept giving her instructions. Okay, for this part, you stay to the left, and then keep your speed up, and make sure you do this, and be careful. And he just kept telling her what to do all the time. And I guess that's part of the deal between them. He's more experienced, and she isn't as confident on the motorcycle, and I guess she needs this advice, or she wants it, because they've been doing this for 2 years. strikes me as weird that after 2 years, he's still telling her how to ride the motorcycle. But anyway, it just kind of annoyed me to listen to him constantly telling her what to do. But anyway, I found that a little bit off-putting for just weird personal reasons, I guess. But other than that, I thought it was a really great video. And I thought, wow, I've discovered a new YouTube channel. And I was looking at their history, and as I said, I found out they've been doing it for 2 years, and I was wondering, why aren't their videos more popular? Their videos, their channel should be way more popular than it is. I think they only had 1,500 subscribers after 2 years with videos like this. How is that possible? So I wanted to do a deep dive into their channel, and then I looked at their videos, like the very first video. I was very excited because the title of the video was something about crating their motorcycles. So they're getting ready to go to Africa, and they're putting their motorcycles inside a crate and then shipping them to Africa. And I thought, oh, that's going to be so excited. They're going to tell us about their journey and all their plans, and tell us about the motorcycle, and we're going to get to see them boxing it up and shipping it to Africa. So I clicked on the video, but it was nothing like that. It was like 2 minutes long, and all it was a time lapse of putting the motorcycles in a crate with music, and that's it. And the second video was uncrating. So now they were going to be unboxing their motorcycles in Africa, and I got all excited about that. I clicked on the video, and again, it was just a 2-minute time lapse with music. And these videos had like 300 views, 400 views. And I was like, okay, that's why your channel isn't popular. You aren't actually making real travel videos. You're just having fun. And like, they're just shooting for a long, long time. I think all they did was a random time lapse with some music. And that's what all their videos consisted of. And I was like, okay, that's why nobody is watching your videos. So I guess the videos, the YouTube channel is not that important to them. They're just content going on their own adventure. I guess they have money saved up. And maybe they started the YouTube channel just for family and friends. So they're just perfectly content to go off on their own adventure, enjoy it. And then once in a while, they just sort of dump something onto YouTube just for fun. They're not really making it as something they're hoping for to get a wide audience. Anyway, that was my impression. So in fact, the YouTube channel to kick around is not really as good as I was hoping it would be. Maybe in the future, they're going to change and make more serious videos, like an Itchy Boots style. But for a long time, their videos were pretty casual. And that's it for YouTube stories. I didn't come across any other. All the YouTube channels that I'm following right now, none of them have posted a new video. There was an Itchy Boots video, I guess, but I didn't finish it. I watched half of it. It was interesting. She's riding her motorcycle through Turkey. And the centerpiece of the video seems to be she came across a village, like an ancient stone house village that had been completely abandoned. It looks amazing. It looks like an archaeological site of some kind with a high cliff behind them, and there's all these caves in the cliff. I don't know if I think she knew it was there. It seems like it would be pretty hard to stumble across something so amazing, but it was pretty amazing, and that was the centerpiece of the video. So it was quite interesting to see. And she got off her motorbike and went into some of the houses, and somebody left a comment on the video, whether he's got it right or not. He gave the history of this village and says, oh yeah, this is a very well-known place. This is the name of it. It dates back to 200 AD or 900 AD or something like that, like 1,000 years old. And then for a variety of reasons, it was abandoned. I think he said something about how there was an exodus of a certain type of person. I think he said there was like a Greek exodus out of Turkey, and maybe all the people living in this village were Greek, and then all the Greek people left Turkey and went back home, so they all abandoned the village. And I think he said something about how somebody died because a rock fell off the cliff, hit them on the head, and killed them. And then maybe this had been an ongoing issue, and then the government said, okay, nobody can live here anymore, and they forced all the people to relocate, so the village was completely abandoned. And yeah, something like that. But anyway, it was pretty interesting. The one funny thing I always end up thinking about, which is kind of weird, I watch the Itchy Boots video, and then I always go to the comments, and then I start reading through all of the top comments, and I can never shake the feeling that a lot of them are artificial, because they just feel way over the top in terms of complimenting the video and Nora Lee herself. It's like, okay, I get it. People would say, oh, I love your videos, I really enjoy them, da-da-da-da-da. But when you see these comments on YouTube, there's a certain style to them. When people leave, a comment on one of my videos, it's pretty rare, but I'll occasionally get a comment where someone says, oh, I loved this video, I really enjoyed it. Well, that's what they say. There's a certain structure and tone and style to these comments, but all of these comments on Itchy Boots videos, they're so long and detailed and flowery, and the grammar is perfect and the punctuation is perfect, and they always seem kind of weird to me. It's almost like, again, I could be completely wrong about this, and I probably am, but it feels like somebody was told to, okay, your job is to think of something good to say about this video and then write a positive comment. Almost like these have been written by, like someone was paid to write these positive comments, because there's something off about them. There's something weird about them, where they just go on for way too long, and they're way too flowery, they're way too over the top, and then what they write about just seems, I end up tilting my head a little bit going, huh? Really? I don't know, it just feels like somebody would say, oh, I love your videos, I enjoy them so much, or something like that. But these comments are several paragraphs long, and it's like, we all love Nora Lee because she is the only YouTuber who brings us the true historical analysis and insight into the countries that she visits. And she has such a skill for bringing us with her and making us feel like we as viewers are there with her at the time. And it just goes on and on like that. And I'm like, who writes like that? And maybe somebody does. Like maybe there are people in the world that are kind of pedantic and kind of pretentious. I tend to write really long comments. It's just my habit. But even if there are some people around the world who do write like that, there are so many of these comments on her videos. There's just too many of them. And then they are on every single video. And I don't know. It just always makes me feel like there's some sort of a service is being paid to write all of these comments, or bots. They can't really be bots though, because they're just too well done. The grammar is perfect. And again, that seems odd to me. The average person leaving a YouTube comment is not like me. Like when I write a comment, I write it in a word processing program. I'll write it, then I'll proofread it, and then I'll fix all the spelling mistakes and the grammar mistakes, and then I'll structure it with sentences and paragraphs. And when it's done, then I copy and paste it into YouTube. But most people just write directly onto YouTube, and they're writing on their phone, and they're not worried about punctuation, capital letters, spelling, grammar, this sort of thing, run-on sentences. They'll just type something out quickly on their phone, and then if it generally has a spelling mistake and things like that. That's a normal YouTube comment. So it's kind of weird to see so many beautifully written, long form comments with sentences and punctuation and paragraphs. Anyway, just a weird thought I always have every time I go through the comments. And I would be interested to know that I'm completely wrong and that all these people are real people writing real comments, because I'd like to meet these people. It's like, who are they? Who is her audience? Who out there in the world has so much time on their hands to write such flowery, insightful, detailed comments? Anyway, that is something that always jumps out at me. Moving on, pop culture roundup. I have some pop culture thoughts, brief ones, I think. I don't have anything really big to talk about. I've been looking forward to watching the second season of The Diplomat. I enjoyed the first season quite a bit, and the second season just started, and I watched I don't think I finished it, but most of the first episode of season 2 of The Diplomat. I was really looking forward to it, and I have to say I didn't really enjoy it that much. I'm sure I'll watch the whole season and it'll be good, but I don't know, I didn't really get hooked. I wasn't really that engaged, and I was thinking about it, and I realized that in the first season, what I really enjoyed was the story of the character herself. Oh, let me look up the name of the character because I can't think of it right now. I just asked ChatGPT to tell me about The Diplomat and the name of the main character. And the main character is called Kate Weiler. I didn't know that at all, to be honest. If I sat here for 20 minutes, I probably couldn't have remembered the name of the main character. But she's played by Carrie Russell, of course. And when I watched the first season, what really kept me engaged was the story of Kate, her personal story, because she was an ambassador or an American diplomat, but she had a career of working in war zones. So she would be sent to anywhere around the country, Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, anywhere where there might be a war going on. I don't remember what her postings were, Afghanistan, places like that. And she was a hardcore career working diplomat who got her hands dirty and really did something real. So that's who she was, and she wasn't interested in the niceties of politics. And of course, in the way she dresses, she's feminine, she's an attractive woman, but she doesn't worry about that. She's not out there trying to get on the cover of Vogue magazine. She just dresses for the setting that she's in. But now she is appointed to be the ambassador to the UK. And I guess everybody was expecting this, or treats it as more of a ceremonial post, where the ambassador has more of a hands-off role. They're there to attend banquets, to meet the Queen, to meet the King, to go to official functions and play nice, and just basically be a diplomat. And because she's an attractive woman, they're hoping she's going to dress up in beautiful dresses, and she's going to have a lot of photo shoots, and she's going to be on the front cover of magazines. So she's there more in a ceremonial role. But of course, this is Kate, the career diplomat who likes to work and take control and get into it. And that was the interesting story to me, that this woman shows up in the UK expecting to be one kind of an ambassador, and everybody around her is trying to treat her like a clothes horse. It's like, oh, we have a photo shoot scheduled for this afternoon, and we need you to put on this red gown, and we need you to go out into the fields and ride this horse so we can film you, and we need you to pose beside the lake shaking hands with the ambassador from France. And anyway, they have all these ceremonial, pointless appointments set up for her, and all this amazing clothing for her. And then she had to fight back and say, no, I'm not going to do any of that crap. I'm here to work. And then she starts making phone calls and setting up meetings of her own and getting involved and actually doing things. And that was the story that I found interesting. Of course, because it's a political thriller, something happens. There is a seemingly terrorist attack on a British battleship or some kind of a British naval ship was hit by a torpedo or a bomb. It was attacked and it blew up, and a lot of British soldiers were killed. So this is like a terrorism crisis that is the heart of the story in season 1. So that is what Kate Weiler is investigating as the diplomat. She's busy trying to figure out who did it and why did they do it, and there's all this behind the scenes intrigue. Was it the Russians? Was it the Chinese? Was it the Syrians? Who did this? And there's all this political investigation and intrigue going on, and that drives the plot forward. But for me, what kept me engaged was the story of Kate herself, if you see what I mean. But now in episode 1 of season 2, we just dove straight into the political intrigue. Season 1 ended with a cliffhanger explosion in which a lot of people either died or were injured. We don't know. The season ended that way with a cliffhanger, and season 2 picks up right after the explosion, and she's right in the middle of it, investigating who did it, the political intrigue, corruption in the British government. How high up does the corruption go? Does it go up to the Prime Minister's office? And are the Russians involved? So that's what it's all about. And to be honest, that's what I'm least interested in. I'm more interested in her personal story. And they don't have that so far in season 2. So I wasn't as engaged. And to be honest, with her investigation of the political intrigue, the names and the factions and the governments, and it all came so thick and fast. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know who they were talking about. I'd pretty much have to watch all of season 1 again just to remind myself, okay, who are all these people? All these terrorists they're talking about, all these journalists they're talking about, all these political lobbyists and State Department officials and departments, and I couldn't keep track of any of it. It's like, okay, who in the world are you guys talking about? I didn't get it. And then all the ins and outs, how governments work, I don't know any of that. So a lot of it just didn't make any sense to me, and I couldn't follow the story. So anyway, I was not as interested in, so far, I'm not as interested in season 2. So that's the one show. The other show that I was watching earlier was called From, and it's kind of a science fiction horror movie where a group of people ended up, it's almost like a Twilight Zone story where some people ended up stuck in this town and they can't leave the town, and the town is full of monsters that come out at night. And I really enjoyed the first season because the monsters were really, really scary, and they set up so many mysteries, and they were promising answers to the mysteries. But then when you got into the next season, or as you got further into the season, into the next, all they started doing was piling up mystery upon mystery upon mystery, and they're making the mysteries more and more crazy, more elaborate. And now, but you're getting to the point where, oh, come on. Like, you got to start giving us some answers because I'm losing interest. And I started to get the feeling that they don't even know. They're just making it up as they go. So you're going to spend season after season after season watching this show, waiting for the answer, and then the show is going to end and there will be no answer. Basically, it's going to be another Lost. And I know Lost is very popular. People love that show, but I hated it because all of these crazy smoke monsters and all these crazy things they introduced, they never, ever explained what they were. It was just the writers just sat down in a room and, okay, what kind of crazy stuff can we do? Let's do all these crazy things. And then they never explained any of them or what any of them went. Nothing. There was no meaning to anything that was going on. And I really, really hate TV shows like that. Anybody can come up with a bunch of crazy mysteries, but it takes a real writer to introduce a mystery and then in the end give you a satisfying explanation. And From is just seems to be going off the end. It's just going off the rails, introducing nothing but crazier and crazier mysteries and adding more and more people. And all the people are so unpleasant. And rather than just focusing on the main characters and focusing on the plot moving forward, all you get in the show are these new characters showing up, and everybody just argues. It's just scene after scene after scene of people bickering and bickering and bickering. And all these people in the show, they all have different experiences in this mysterious village, but nobody ever tells anybody else what they experience. Like, nobody ever shares information. All these people do is yell at each other, and then nobody stops and say, oh, you know, when I went into the forest, I saw this symbol written on a tree, and then share that with somebody else who might say, oh, you know, I saw that symbol in a book. Like, nobody shares information about all these crazy experiences they're having and all the weird things they're seeing. And if they would all just sit down around a table, have a cup of coffee, and just talk to each other, like, maybe they could make some progress. But they don't. Someone will show up and somebody says, where did you go? You shouldn't go there. And they just start arguing about it and bickering and yelling and arguing. And it's just such an annoying show now. So I just stopped watching it because I know they're going to break my heart eventually. Even if I want to know what the answer is, there is not going to be an answer. And I hate shows like that. I think The Leftovers was another one of those shows that had all these amazing, crazy mysteries that they showed. And then in the end, they was like, okay, show's over. And they never explained any of them. There was no meaning. There was no satisfactory, that's what that was all about, and that's why that happened, and that's why that meant. They just stuck in a whole bunch of weird stuff because it looked weird, and then they never explained any of it. So I hate that stuff. Next show that just started is Silo. There was a first season of Silo, again, kind of a science fiction-y, post-apocalyptic mystery story based on a series of books. So the story in Silo is quite good, mainly because it's based on books. And when you get a story based on a book, at least you know that the author thought it through. The book is finished. It's not something that they're just making up as they go. So they are following a book, which means you are going to get satisfactory answers. And the first season of Silo was quite interesting. I enjoyed it very much. And season 1 ended on a big, big, big cliffhanger. And I was looking forward to season 2 picking up where it left off, because season 1 ended with our main character, I think Juliet was her name, where Juliet was about to make some big, big, big discoveries and learn something really important about the silo that they were all living in. And I was so excited about that. And that's where season 1 ended. And I was hoping season 2 would pick up with her uncovering mysteries, learning about the silo, the history. But instead of doing that, they went back in time, and now they're just giving all these flashbacks to Juliet's childhood when she was growing up inside the silo as a little girl. And I guess this information is going to be important later on, but it was kind of disappointing to me because I was so involved in Juliet learning more, discovering new things, and nothing really happened in the first episode. She did some stuff. There was some stuff happening, but all the new stuff that was happening all just felt like filler. It was just filler. It was like a structure, a skeleton, and then they could take these flashbacks and hang the flashbacks onto this plot skeleton. And at this point, I watched the whole episode 1 of season 2, but I don't know what any of this has to do with anything. Okay, we're seeing her childhood, but as far as I'm aware, I already knew all this stuff. Like, everything they're showing me from her childhood was already either shown in season 1 or was just perfectly obvious. She talked about her history. We know about who she is, where she came from. That was all in season 1 already. So why are we going back in time and now we're seeing her childhood in video form? We don't need it because we already know, don't we? We've seen all of this before. And I don't know how this is going to tie in with season 2, and I don't know why it's important. It just sort of feels like we're wasting time. We're just spinning our wheels, seeing her childhood. I want the story to move forward. I don't want to go backwards. Like, I don't mind a story that goes back in time if it's important and it feels new and fresh. But these flashbacks don't feel new and fresh to me. It feels like we're just treading old ground, and you're just telling me things as a viewer that I already know. I already imagined these scenes in my head. I don't need to see them played out. Anyway, I'm going to stick with Silo as the episodes come out, but I wasn't that impressed with the first episode. It wasn't terrible. And they did set up something quite interesting, but it ended. The interesting thing didn't happen until the end of the episode. So now you have to wait until episode 2. But it feels like the thing that episode 1 ended with, that was the thing that the episode should have started with, because that's the new story. The new story started at the end of episode 1, and I wanted it to start at the beginning. Anyway. We'll see how it goes. Any other thoughts for this morning? Well, I do have a random thought that is going to come completely out of left field, but I may even have talked about this before, but I made a note about it. And this is something that I have thought about for a long time. I've been aware of this problem for most of my life because I've always been interested in the English language, and I've made a living as an editor, an English editor basically, and voice recorder, things like that. And I've always been aware that there's a problem in English, and the problem is we do not have a gender-neutral singular pronoun. So what I mean is, in English we have pronouns like singular pronouns like he and she and it, right? He for a man, she for a woman, it for a dog or non-human. And we have the pronoun one. Like, if we don't know who the person is, we can't identify them, we can say one. Like, we don't want to say he would enjoy a trip to Sumatra, because that just doesn't make any sense. In English, we would say one would enjoy a trip to Sumatra. Like, we're just speaking about some unknown, faceless, singular person. We use one. But there are many, many, many situations in English, in sentences, where we need a gender-neutral pronoun, because we don't know if the person is male or female. We have no idea. So I wrote a couple of sentences here just as an example. So in English, what we would say is something like this. Somebody called me 10 times last night, but they didn't leave a message. That's normal English. Like, somebody called me, but they didn't leave a message. So we use the plural pronoun they, even though we're talking about one person. And it's never made sense to me, because we know it was one person. One person kept calling me over and over again, but we can't say someone called me 10 times, but he didn't leave a message, because we don't know it's a he. And we can't say someone called me 10 times last night, but she didn't leave me a message, because we don't know whether it's a man or a woman. So we can't say he and we can't say she. So we end up saying they, because they is plural, and it could be men or women. It can be either one. But it doesn't make any sense because we're using a plural pronoun for one person. Another example, we could say, someone broke into my car, but all they stole was a bag of dirty laundry. So again, one person broke into my car, but all they stole was a bag of dirty laundry. So in those cases, we need a gender-neutral singular pronoun. And most languages have one. I've looked into this. I can't remember what I discovered, but I investigated this. And in lots and lots of languages around the world, they'll have a gender-neutral singular pronoun. They'll have he, she, it, and then another one where you don't know if you're talking about a man or a woman. They'll have an appropriate pronoun. And I've always thought English needs one of these. And I always thought that the English language needs some sort of a organization, not controlling it, but helping it. And then this organization could say, okay, we are going to invent a new word. English needs this word. And then they have a bunch of experts sit down and they think about it. And then they come up with a sound. So now we have he, she, and I don't know, blee. I don't know, that sounds terrible. But just invent another word for a gender-neutral singular pronoun. Tell the world, okay, this is our new word in English. Everybody start using it, and maybe it becomes part of the language. And I've been thinking about that a lot, of course, because in recent years, we had that whole thing I think it's mainly a North American thing, mainly an American thing, the whole woke culture, where not everybody, but there was a segment of the population that got offended by people calling them he or she. They insisted that they didn't identify as male or female. They identify as gender neutral or whatever they identify as, and they get really upset. If they don't identify as a woman and you call her she gets really, really upset. Or a man doesn't identify as male, and then you refer to them and you use he, they get really angry. So there was this whole political movement, this whole popular culture movement, and what they did, they decided to use they, them. I mean, you see this joke in this theme all the time in pop culture, where one person is now insisting that my pronouns are they, them. And this has become a weird part of this woke culture that I don't quite understand. I don't think it's as big a deal as it's made out to be, but you do see this all the time, where people are talking about this and they say, okay, when they introduce themselves, they go up to a microphone and they say, okay, my name is Bill, my pronouns are they, them, because Bill does not identify as male or female. He's bisexual or whatever he is. And then this whole movement in popular culture, for whatever reason, they missed the golden opportunity. Like, here they are pushing for a gender-neutral pronoun, but instead of inventing one, they said, well, let's use they, them. And I'm like, oh, for Pete's sake, here we are. We could have invented a new pronoun for English. Perfect opportunity. The language actually needs one. And now you people are insisting that everybody should use one. So this movement should have put their heads together and invented a new pronoun, a singular pronoun. But instead, they chose to use the plural pronouns they, them, which makes no sense at all because you're talking about one person. So now you've got two problems. They're trying to convince the world that they are neither male nor female, and that's pretty hard to convince the general population to do. And now you're trying to convince the world on top of that to refer to them in a plural form when they're actually just one person, and that's kind of a bridge too far. So anyway, just as an English editor, as someone who's interested in English and English accuracy, it feels like they missed a golden opportunity. The whole world did. The English-speaking world could have invented a brand new pronoun, a gender-neutral singular pronoun, and the language actually needs one. It should have one. It's logical, because there are many situations when we're talking about a person who did something, but we don't know who did it. So we have to refer to them with a pronoun because we don't know their name, and we don't know whether it was a man or a woman who did it. So every language needs this gender-neutral singular pronoun. Just like it, for an inanimate object, we need an equivalent to it, but to refer to people. But English doesn't have one. I guess it just evolved in such a way that it never had one. Or maybe English had one in the past, and people stopped using it and just started using they, them, even though it's plural. Anyway, just a random thought here on Planet Doug. And I still think we need one. So somebody needs to invent this new pronoun and introduce it to the world. I'm open to suggestions. So that is it for now for the Planet Doug podcast. I'm going to make another cup of coffee. I'm going to turn on my laptop. Hopefully my laptop works. I hear rain outside. It's raining real heavily. It rained all night. So much rain in Sumatra these days. I guess it's the rainy season. But as I've said many times, I just don't pay attention to seasons anymore. It's always the rainy season everywhere I go. So I don't worry about it. And even though it rains a lot, there's some also, like yesterday was a beautiful sunny day. Really hot, but beautiful and sunny. So that's it for now for Tuesday, November 19th. That is what is happening on Planet Doug. I hope you enjoyed the stories, and I thank you for keeping me company. And I hope I was able to keep you company while you're doing whatever you are doing out there on your planet. And hope you come back, join me again next time, and I'll see you then.